Good morning, folks. This is Patrick, and I want to do a quick update on some figures I was working on. I actually haven't started officially working on these yet. I was doing some prep work on them, and I was using resin, and I have realized that it's going to take a lot more practicing or training or using resin and a lot of trial and error before I become an expert resin user. And let me explain what's going on. I'm going to say that one for last because I have a lot to say about that one. All right, let's start with the skull base. And I'm not going to say too much about the base because I'm actually going to make this one into a project series. But briefly, another thing, forgive all of the epoxy clay and all of the baking soda and any shiny stuff you see. That's just some prep work. I actually completed filling the top part of this base with resin yesterday, and it took it about probably 20 hours or more to dry completely. And I wish I had the container in here to show you what kind of resin. Hold on, let me go get that so I can show you. All right, I just decided to bring this manual here to show the name of the resin I was using on these projects, Takimo. And I got this on Amazon in case you're interested. But I want to point out this brand because prior to that brand, Takimo, I was using Let's Resin. And that seemed to dry quicker than this right here. And like I said, it took about 20 minutes, it took about 20 hours or more to dry. Now, I don't know if it's just because of the brand or maybe it's a specific type of resin or because the weather is kind of cool right now, as opposed to when I used the Let's Resin brand of resin, it was warmer. So I'm not sure, but anyway, keep that in mind if you decide to buy this. It may have a longer curing time. I don't know. If you know, let me know. Okay, so getting back to this skull base. That's what this is here. I'll put resin on these thin parts. Hopefully it will strengthen these and keep them from getting broken off in the future. As you can see on each one. It still feels a little flimsy, but I'm hoping it will help. I don't know. All right, so I believe this part of the base is maybe 75% fill. And the top part is probably around 75, 80%, maybe 85% fill. It was hard getting resin into all of these top parts of the base. I turned it upside down and turned it all different kind of ways to get the resin to flow into these parts right here without breaking these I was about to say symbiotes, without breaking these off right here. And I made a mistake by gluing these on before I filled it with resin. If I hadn't glued these on first, I would have been able to turn this upside down all kind of ways and get the resin to flow into the top. But it's no problem. I don't think these will be cracking or breaking. So I'm happy with that. Now I did have some spills, but I'll get better. It's just going to take a lot more practice and patience, I guess. I get a little impatient with this stuff and it frustrates me. So I'll learn to do better. Let me see. Now, I want to point this out, and I'll talk more about this when I get to this actual project. There are some gaps in here, and that is part of my goal with this project is to try to make this as seamless as possible. But I'll talk more about that when I get to it. All right, so much for that one. Okay, now this one. I filled this one. Let me pick it up. And I decided to go ahead and put a hole in the bottom so I could go ahead and fill it quickly. Trying to fill it through those little bitty holes you see there, that would have taken forever. It probably would have resulted in a big mess. So I drilled a hole in it and filled it with resin. I'm guessing it's about, I don't know, maybe 60, 65%, maybe 70% fill. It's really hard to tell, but it is heavier. So this is pretty much filled, I think. And again, with the tips, I did put resin on the outside of all of these sharp pointy areas here. Hopefully it's going to strengthen those, but they still feel flimsy. So again, I don't know if it's going to work. Okay. All right, anyway, all I can do is try. And let me see, all over the teeth. You can see it there. Now, you probably can't tell by looking at this, but I can tell because I know what it looked like before I filled it with resin. Right here, you may notice that it's kind of white looking, but up here, it's not so much white looking. It looks a little clear, and that's because I turned it upside down and the resin ran all the way up to its head, as opposed to the bottom where there's not a whole lot of resin. We'll probably fill this all of the way once I do another resin pour. Let me see. But I think that's it for that one. I did like the way this looked before I put the resin in it. But again, I did that to protect it. So hopefully, maybe it'll grow on me. It still looks all right, as opposed to the next figure, this one. This looks like glass now. That is not what I had in mind when I covered this one with resin. And yes, it is completely covered with resin. As opposed to before I covered it, it looked more like that right there. It showed more detail before I added the resin to it. And I added the resin, same as with the other one. Oh, I'm losing my voice. I added resin to hopefully protect it because this thing is really fragile. And my hope was that by putting resin on it, and I actually painted the resin on it using a brush, the hope is that it will protect this thing because it is so fragile. But I just don't like the way it looks, folks. So I guess that gives me the perfect excuse to have another one made, because I did like the way it looked. I just want to get it made bigger next time. And what I'm thinking about doing with this one, I mean, it looks okay. It's different. And I do want variety in my Carnage collection. I don't want everything to look the same, red and black, and just, I want variety. I want stuff to look a little different, unique. So this will, man, I'm losing my voice. This will add some uniqueness to the collection. But what I'm thinking about is maybe using some clear red paint, that Tamiya paint. You probably saw that in one of my other videos. I'm thinking about using that paint and painting this, and then encasing it inside some epoxy. I'm trying to picture how that would look in my head. So I'm going to give that some more thought, but I might do that. And I'll think more about it once I can get another one of these made. I really like this figure. Just, it's so different. I like it a lot. All right, folks, I think that's it for now. This video is getting kind of long. So as always, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. And let's get a thumbnail and we can call this a wrap. Okay, I think that'll get it right there. All right, I should be able to get a good thumbnail out of that. Thanks again, folks. Bye.